Hi, everybody. Erica here from In the Company of Cards, coming to you from a very rustic, undisclosed location. Uh, so, welcome if you're new. If you've been here before, welcome back. This is a channel where I use cards, specifically Lenormand, to look at what's going on in the country and in the world. I can't get the smile off of my face because I'm very happy about last night's electoral results across the board. It was a Democratic rout in all the places, which is great. And so I have a few questions around that. And I have a couple of questions on the Supreme Court. And I want to just give a word on the subject of Usha Vance. And then I thought I'd look and see how the felon is feeling. Not too good, I'm sure, after last night's, from his perspective, debacle. I don't know that he knows that big word, but disaster. Okay. So, first question, I wanted to look at this election piece. And I just want to ask, first of all, a general question, which is, does the events of last night, the Democratic rout, does it portend an inevitable blue wave in 2026 and therefore then in 2028? Um, will there be this blue wave? Trying to think about what I want to use as a focus card, if any. So I think I'll let Spirit answer the question. And what I want to know is, um, on a national level, what will be the result of what happened last night? Um, yeah, they know what I'm talking about. All right. So just like at home, letting you watch. I do have tarot cards as well. So I may or may not use them to enhance whatever it is that I am getting. But, again, Spirit's gonna pick all of these cards. What will be the results from last night's win? Because I'm away from home, you'll notice that I'm using a cloth to read. Just, for those of you who like this kind of minutia, when I'm away from home, if I can, I like to use a black linen napkin. You can buy them at, a pack of six. So they're always available, and I like a nice black background because it means that no matter where I am, um, the message that I'm giving myself and as well as the universe is this black field is sacred space. I also have a candle lit as well. Okay, so let's see what we got. Okay, interesting. We have the clouds, we have the mice, we have the star, the child, and the lily. Um, I don't think I need to draw more cards, but I will say this. So this is how everybody had been feeling, right? Just like, oh my God, what's the next thing that he's going to do, and the next thing, and the next thing, and are we, hurtling towards autocracy and fascism and all of that? I mean, yes, we are. And this is just how we have felt about it. Confused, disturbed, um, unmoored, unsettled, etc. But look, I asked what will be the results of what happened last night. And I love that this card is followed by the mice. Why do I love that? Because the mice eat away at whatever card comes before it. So all of this worry, trepidation, confusion, anxiety gets nibbled away at. And, mice nibble, right? They don't take gigantic, huge bites out of things. Would that they did, that would be great. But no, they nibble away. So I think over time, what we will see is an increase in optimism on our side, an increase in involvement, political involvement on our side. And these clouds will begin to dissipate, which is great. In the center, because remember, I didn't choose a focus card, I love the star because the star is all about hope. So, what happened last night gives our side hope. And the card that follows that is the child. This is a new day. Child is for something new. Also, something untested. I'm going to do more on Mamdani in a bit, in this broadcast, but, a democratic socialist, head of New York City. That's a new thing. He beat the establishment Democrat, who, granted, should have been beaten because he was disgraced and tossed out of office when he was governor. So why do you think New York City people would like him? Anyway, this is a fresh new thing. And the final card is the lily. In some ways, the lily and the clouds, I can mirror these two cards, are opposites of each other. If this is worry and confusion and all of that, this is the opposite. This is peace. This is ease. This is feeling assured that everything will come right in the end. So I think, in answer to the question, I think that there will be a Democratic blue wave in 2026 and then again in 2028. Uh, yeah, I don't think I need to pull any more cards on that. Now, I wanted to ask this. It kind of is the same, but a little bit nuanced. Well, not nuanced, it's pretty direct, but it's a variation on the theme of the question that I just asked. What I'd like to know is, will what happened last night um, result in loosening or strengthening the felon's grip on the Democratic Party? Apparently today, he had some news conference or whatever, and then said, "Oh, we're going to have a big meeting after this of his Republican people. He wants to have a big meeting." He's really mad, and it's everybody else's fault. Okay, I just want to know. Uh, I just want to look at his grip on the party. So I am going to use the bear because the bear is like somebody who's overbearing in this case. It means many things, but in this case, somebody who's got this iron grip on the party. And I just want to see what happens to that iron grip. So we're going to use the bear that will stand for the felon's current iron grip on the party and whether tonight last night will have shifted that energy one way or the other. Okay. So we're looking for the bear. I always check the bottom of the deck to see if the card I'm looking for is there. It's not. There it is. Okay, so this stands for the felon's iron grip on the Republican Party. Ooh, I think this is clear too, and I don't think it needs elaboration. So, or, clarification. We have the felon. We have again the lily. We have the bear. We have the key, and we have the scythe. So one of the things I find particularly interesting is the lily, which meant one thing in the question I just read, means something very different in this reading. A lot of people say that you don't need intuition to read Lenormand. And that's true if you want to read like See Spot Run. If you want to read on a very basic level, just read the cards and you don't, they're just words, right? String them together and come up with a meaning and there you go. That's a reading and it's technically that's true. You read. But when you employ your intuition, it allows the cards to kind of, I don't know, come alive. Um, and if you use your intuition, you can be very clear, for example, whether the bear is the mother or the boss or food or overweight or a narcissist. How do you know which one it is? The other cards will tell you, but if you add your intuition to the mix, it's very clear. Here, I have intended for this to be the felon's iron grip on the party, and I wanted to know what was going to happen with that. So, just so that I love this when the universe says, we want you to know, Erica, and your viewers, that we know what you're talking about. We know what your subject is because here he is, the first card. And look what I can mirror it with the last card. I think that he will end up getting cut loose by the party, one way or the other. I mean, it just simply that they don't listen to him. They start listening to their constituents. But at any rate, some kind of way, he ends up getting separated from the party. Uh, the second card is the lily, and I told you that it changes meaning from what I just read because here, the other one of the other meanings of the lily, and here it is right next to the felon, an old man, an old, infirm, not with the program man. This is grandfather energy. This is great grandfather energy. It's old man energy. He will seem older and older and older. Last night will have aged him another 10 years. Now, also, I can mirror that, Lily, with the fourth card, which is the key. So you put together the will of the people, which was demonstrated last night, with, uh, his cavalier attitude about people's benefits, about people's jobs, his downright cruelty around issues of immigration, his disgusting hatred for Black people. I'm not saying he has to love us, but my God, he's a flaming racist. Entertainment purposes only. And I'm not even going to say allegedly because he's an in your face racist. In addition to all of those things that are going to cause everybody to say, I don't know, even the MAGA base, should he be our standard bearer? Is he the best messenger for the cause? He's looking kind of doddering. So you put all of that together with his dodderingness, he can't hear, he can't walk, right? And God knows his thinking is off. This is the golden ticket, the key to why, in the end, the events of last night are just the first stage of his party cutting him loose. He won't want that, but they will want it. And it'll be all kinds of supporters of his who will want that. It'll be the technocrat bunch, the oligarch bunch. It'll be which is the black hats, and it'll also be the red hats. All of them will want him off the stage. Think of this as the hook. If there's like a comedian who's really like bombing, then they get the hook and take him off the stage. I think that's what's going to happen to him. And last night will be the first stage. I think when he has this meeting today, which he may have already had by this point, I think that the party members, party um, leaders will not be at all pleased with the fact that he casts the blame on them because they have done nothing but be undyingly loyal to him. And he is going to read them the riot act. This will not win him any friends. It will just make him look like the bully that he is. So he will be, he will become increasingly irrelevant, I'm going to say, to whatever the party's mission uh, becomes. Okay, that's good news. I wanted to look specifically for a minute at Mamdani in New York. I'm so happy that he won. You know, his mom wrote a book years and years ago that I really liked. It was called, I even remember the title, it was called, I think, Mississippi Mandala. I'm pretty sure. So look for that book because it was very good. I saw that she did a video last night too, saying, she was sorry that she couldn't be there for her son's win, but that she was sure he would do a wonderful job and be a great mayor. And it's nice to see a proud mom. But anyway, Mom Donnie's win is wonderful, but it will certainly put him in the crosshairs of powerful people on both sides. Moneyed, powerful people, both in the Democratic base and in and the Republicans, both will have him in their crosshairs. So, first off, I wanted to look at a couple of the issues that he has brought to the table as being ones that he wants to work on right away. So I want to look at those issues. And then I want to look at his own personal safety, physical safety, and also the safety of his, I don't know, his brand, right? Because we know that uh, all stops will be pulled to try and bring him down. So that could be a physical threat, but it could also be a reputational threat that he faces. So I want to look at all of that. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to look at is his promise to um, look at rent control. So the backstory of this is kind of interesting. For several years, I mean, this is not a new thing. For several years, New Yorkers who have money have been fleeing the city. Probably, in anticipation of an event like this, the election of a democratic socialist who believes housing is a right and that fair housing prices are a right. So, a lot of people have fled, for example, to Florida because it's a Trumpy state. They like that, you know. So, what I want to know is, will New York become a more affordable city for middle class people to live in? We've seen this mass exodus. It will only increase, by the way, now that Mamdani's been elected. I mean, Florida, get ready because you might just sink under the ocean, um, under the weight of all those New Yorkers who are going to be seeking solace at your shores. But they'll bring money, right? So that's okay, right? All right, so let's look at the housing crisis in New York. Will Mamdani be able to fix it? So I'm going to use the house because, housing, and let's see what we get. Okay. Okay, this is the New York housing crisis, and we want to look to see whether, what Mamdani can do about it. So interesting that this lily keeps popping up. I kind of love that. All right, we have crossroads, we have mice, we have the house, the lily, and the dog. So this is a really benign line. He will do things a different way. Crossroads is about choices, and he will do things a different way. He will hold landlords to account. He will um, seek to make rent control a thing so that people can actually live in New York, and that this new way will make the case for him being a friend of the people. This is a great card. So he will definitely do his best um, to bring down the cost, right? Because this is a decrease, to decrease the cost of housing and to bring people some peace around this issue. So that's good. I mean, I'm going to say the line feels aspirational as opposed to actual. I mean, we know that this is what he wants to do. So I'm just going to pull a couple of clarifiers to make sure that it is both aspirational and actual, right? So let's see what we get. Okay, so I pulled on the final three cards. I pulled on the house, the lily, and the dog. So this is the housing situation. Look at these great cards. We've got the star, the key, and the letter. I think that moving forward on this issue of housing in New York, he's going to be giving people hope. You can't get better than the key. He will unlock housing opportunities that currently do not exist, and he will put those opportunities into law. Okay, so I love that. The lily, this is sort of that peace and ease finally around this issue for people. And we have the book, the ship, and the heart. So, it feels quite idealistic. Like, really, can we have some peace around that issue? I don't know. The book is about things we don't know. But here, he pulls a rabbit out of the hat, moves things forward in ways that the citizens of the city will really be behind. Now, here he is, the champion of the people, but look who shows up, the narcissist in chief, the tower, and the anchor. So of course, we know that here's Mamdani, the knight in shining armor, facing off against the felon and the administration, who will try to weigh his efforts down, keep him from affecting effecting the kind of changes in this issue that he would like to do. Uh, I can mirror that with Crossroads. So he will try, he will do his absolute best. And I think that people will see that. I think people will appreciate that, but it will not be without resistance. We already know that the felon said he will prevent New York City from getting federal aid if Mamdani was elected. Okay, well, first of all, you can't do that. That's against the law. But what's new? I mean, everything he does is against the law. So that's something that will be litigated and, we'll keep it moving. But I do think there will be efforts that will be discernible. I think people will see these changes. Again, all of these rich people who are fleeing the city, bye, bye. Uh, that will leave housing open and available, and either people um, are fair, landlords are fair, or their property will be untenanted. So I think he will make good on that promise. Another thing he wanted to do, this is a big one, is tax the rich at a higher, more fair rate than they are currently taxed in New York. Again, the rich are fleeing, but they won't all be gone. How about that tax plan? Will that take effect? I think I'm going to use the fish because that can stand for taxes. That's money. And, with an eye towards the fish being Mamdani's efforts to have a more equitable tax structure in the city where the wealthy pay their share. Okay, so we're looking for the fish. Thank you, by the way, for liking, sharing, subscribing, hyping, and for your comments. They mean the world, and I read them all. Um, I can't comment to everyone because it's just so many, but I do read through all the comments and really appreciate them. Okay, so we're looking for the fish. Okay, so this stands for the taxation of the rich. Okay, so we have the sun, the ship. Here's the taxation of the rich. Oh, look who shows up, the felon and the star. So I think that the sun is considered the best card in the deck. I think that this will happen, especially mirrored with the star. So if you want to do business in New York, you have to pay your fair share. If not, go to Florida, see how that works out for you. A lot of people will flee. It's a second card to the felon's state. A lot of them will. Now, I'm going to draw some clarifiers. Let's see what we get. I'm going to draw clarifiers on that center card, which is this taxation. Boy, that lily is getting a workout. And I'll draw some clarifiers on the felon. And I will draw some clarifiers on the star. Okay. So this is the taxation. Clarifiers again, we have the lily, we have the woman, and we have the key. I think that this effort to get people to pay more who can afford to pay more really bring a lot of peace to a lot of people's hearts, just in terms of the fact that there's this declaration on the part of Mamdani that this should happen. It's a more yin way of thinking about the people who have less than these billionaires have. It's a kinder, gentler approach, which is what this yin card is about. And here's the key. I think he will do it. I think he will tax them. Now, I drew cards on the felon, and we have the house, the bear again, and the birds. So people will flock to the felon state. What does he call it? The what? The Southern White House? Oh, summer White House, winter White House, whatever. Anyway, uh, here he is, this narcissist, and here are all of these rich people flocking to him, wanting some sort of relief. I mean, they're not going to get it in Mamdani's city of New York, but maybe the felon can help them out and prevent Mamdani from charging them through the nose. Now, the stars is the card for hope. This was great, especially when we mirrored it with the sun. But look, we have the cross, the anchor, and the mountain. I feel like this is a great card, but you know, there is the reality. that if you make people pay their share, billionaires, let's say, and then they decide and they leave, well, there is sacrifice then attached to that. Because if they're not there, they can't be taxed. And that may be the price that Mamdani is willing to pay. And maybe there are other incentives that he can use to draw people to the city in ways that are, not like, oh, come to the city and we won't tax you high and you can have the run of the place and, you won't have to live next to poor people because that won't. No, there have to be other incentives that Mamdani comes up with to make up for the fact that there will be this sacrifice, which is rich people will leave and take their money with them. Now, these two cards are really synonyms for each other, right? They're kind of heavy, weighed down cards. Uh, I can mirror that with the sun, which is our very first card. And I think that this particular initiative will be a very, very heavy lift for Mamdani. However, it will also make very clear to everyone how corrupt the current system is. And that's a good thing. So, as long as he makes this valiant effort to tax the rich, even if he is unsuccessful, which he could be, people will see how corrupt things are at their core. And, you know, is that not more incentive for a blue wave? So to me, it's win-win. Um, the old college try will be worth it. I think it will bear some fruit uh, for that blue wave in the end. Okay. Another of the last initiative that I wanted to look at of Mamdani's, and he has many, of course, but um, is, so New York has a really good, in my opinion, bus system, public bus system. It's also true that nobody really takes the bus unless they are really without means to do otherwise. I mean, they've got a subway system too. It's disgusting and dirty, but anyway, they have a subway system, which of course, by definition, is much faster, but there is a bus system. And so what he wants to do is make buses free. Who takes the bus? I guess, little old ladies like me, or, people who don't have the means and prefer to be above ground, which God knows I understand because I've taken both many times. And I see the allure of being above ground as opposed to underground. I'm just saying. But at any rate, he wants to make buses free, which of course has sent the power elites of the Democratic Party into a tailspin. Free? What are you talking about? I just want to know, will the buses be made free? So, there is no bus card in Lenormand, so we will use the ship because the ship stands for any mode of transportation plane, train, automobile, bus. So we're going to look for the ship and I want to know, will he be able to make bus transportation free to everyone? Okay. Okay, so this is bus transportation in the city. Okay, so we have the child, the bouquet, the ship that stands for bus transport, you know, birds and crossroads, and I drew clarifiers on the last three cards. Okay, so this is quite some initiative, never really considered before in New York. It would be quite a gift to New Yorkers. It really would. Here's the ship in the center. It's really got people talking because this is far off the beaten track of how things are done in a place like New York, where, you know, the object of the game is to rend every penny that they can from people who live there and people who visit there. So, I pulled cards on this initiative, and we have again the lily. What peace of mind would it bring to people to not have to factor in this cost in their commutes to their, blue collar jobs? What peace would this bring? Maybe now they could buy lunch because otherwise they'd have to choose between car fare and lunch. So this would be a great thing. But, bureaucracy, bureaucracy will put the kibosh on this. I don't think it will happen. Uh, this would have to be an initiative that the city hall would have to weigh in on. There would be a lot of meetings and talk, conversation, but I think they would cut it right down. Uh, but I don't think Mamdani would give it up. I think that he would continue. Continua la lucha, meaning the battle continues. I think he would continue this fight, that he would continue the conversations about it, continue holding people's feet to the fire around this and say, why not do something like this? This is putting our money where our mouth is. But it would be a contentious issue, I suspect. Here's this new way of doing things, but look, the coffin, the clouds, and the tree. So I'm going to say that uh, it's something that when it comes to the table, it will be shot down. He will bring it back to the table. It'll be shot down again, and then he'll bring it back to the table. It could take a long time. Uh, I can mirror this tree card with this child card, and there might be some sort of like compromise. So, in other words, okay, we're not going to make it free to everybody because we're not doing that, but free to everyone on Medicare, let's say. So every senior can ride free, something like that. Um, I think there will be some compromise, but in terms of a wholesale, everybody rides the bus free, that's not going to happen. They will not, the city council will not allow that. But he will keep trying, and I do think he will gain some concession like the one that I just talked about. There are bus passes for kids. Uh, you have to pay for a bus pass, by the way, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I remember back in the day when I used to bus pass in New York every day, as a kid. I think there will be subgroups of people who will get that benefit. Okay. Um, Finally on Mamdani, and then I have other things I'd like to look at because I haven't seen you in a bit, so I've missed you and enjoy our time together. So I have more things to look at. But the last thing on Mamdani is this issue that I mentioned early on when I first started to look at him in this session, which is that he has made a lot of enemies by winning, by being a democratic socialist, by being popular with the people, by being popular with young people, getting young people who had no intention of voting prior, getting them to the polls to vote. So, again, it's put a target on him. And there are lots of ways that that he could be thwarted, both personally and professionally. So I guess I want to just look at him and see to his safety. So I'm going to use the young man card because he is young, and I'm going to just see what's around him. Um, we all should surround him in white light, the white light of protection. And because that can help, you know, uh, thoughts become things. All right, so we're looking for the young man, and that will stand for Mamdani, and we want to look at him and just his personal well-being in this new role, which of course will start in January when he is sworn in. Okay, here he is. So this is Mamdani. Okay. So we have the mountain, and he had a mountain to climb, did he not, to get to where he is? The second card is the heart. Center card is Mamdani. Fourth card is the cross. Fifth card is scales. This is the card that I've added to the Lenormand system. And it's not a traditional card, but I did add one card to the system. Okay. So again, he had quite the uphill battle because he had the Democratic establishment against him. He had the felon against him. He had the Republicans against him. But he climbed the hill, did he not? Uh, because people see that his agenda is about fairness. This is a card for fairness. People really like him. But again, that puts him in a dangerous position because the card that I can mirror this heart with is the cross. So this is a card of sacrifice, of pain, of difficulty, of travail. He knows that. He's not foolish. He knows there's a target on him. But for the love of the people, he's willing to put himself out. This is also the card for sacrifice. So I pulled clarifiers on him. Here he is. And the clarifiers are the fox, the whip, and the sight. So as I suspected, people will be gunning for him in lots of different ways. I think there are, for example, foreign entities that will be enlisted to help bring him down. The whip is a card of contention. He will never have to not watch his back because they want to bring him down. So this is not some frivolous question. He is uh, endangered both personally and reputationally because those people who want to bring him down will use every tool in every weapon in their arsenal against him. Cross is clarified by the letter, the mice, and the star. So again, they will cause him grief. The initiatives that he wants to put in place will be whittled down, chiseled down. Um, but I still think that he brings hope to a city and a nation that longs for it, and is willing to sacrifice what he needs to sacrifice for that effort. I mean, he is in the mold of politicians of old, um, or civil rights icons of old who had the people's interests at heart and who saw, um, past whatever mountain, king. I've been to the mountaintop. I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but we as a people one day will get there. We're not there yet, but Mamdani is one of those bright lights that will help us move forward in the right way. And the last line is really nice. We have scales, which is again my card for justice. We have clover. We have the sun, and we have the fraternal twin of the sun, the way I read it. We have the key. So I think that even though he cannot achieve much of his agenda, or maybe he'll achieve much, but not all of his agenda, he just is a breath of fresh air, which is what clover is. He gives people hope, and he infuses people with enthusiasm, which is also clover. Uh, People are happy. I mean, like I said, I didn't sleep very well, but each time I woke up in the night, I had a smile on my face. And the key. So, to whatever degree he is thwarted, he helps us find the key that will tell this mountain, move, get out the way. So I think that's really good. He is not unaware of what he faces and who's against him. But what is that thing the Bible says? No weapon formed against him shall prosper. The people spoke last night. All right, enough about that. I wanted to look for a second at the Supreme Court because today there was a hearing about the whole tariff issue. And interestingly, John Roberts, who is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, not not a, not a fan, but anyway, he is the Chief Justice, and he asked an interesting question of the government attorney, meaning the felon's attorney. And the question is, it's a question that we already know the answer to. But Felon seems to be the only one who doesn't get it. But anyway, the question that Roberts asked this attorney was, um, who pays the tariffs? Now, we all know that whoever is importing the goods pays the tariffs. That would be us. That's the short answer, and it's the honest answer. The felon, as you know, swears up and down it's the other guy who pays the tariffs. That this is not a tax on the American people. Now, Roberts knows full well what a tariff is. He knows that ultimately it's a tax on the American people. So, I I don't know why he's asking who pays the tariffs. He should ask, riddle me this, lawyer for the felon, given that it is the people, the American people, who will pay these tariffs, uh, why are we doing this tariff thing exactly? He didn't ask that. His question was, who pays the tariffs? Also, Gorsuch, right? Another one of them. He asked, what did he ask? Are there limits to the president's power? What? Okay. Last time I checked, it was the Supreme Court itself that gave him presidential immunity. Now, I guess the argument would be this. We gave him presidential immunity, but we still have laws in this country that he has to follow. Okay, here's where the logic breaks down. We are a country of laws that the felon has to follow. Okay. But the felon is breaking laws left and right. So if someone breaks the laws that are the laws of the land, and you apprise them of that fact, and they continue to break the laws, but you gave the person who keeps breaking the laws immunity, which means he cannot be uh, held responsible for breaking the laws. It seems a little bit of a circular argument to me, but it also seems to me as though uh, the felon, I mean, the Supreme Court, about to sneeze, or not, it could happen. No, it's okay. I have a lot of fresh air up here where I am, which is making me a little sneezy. Sorry. Anyway, it seems to me that with those questions, I mean, you tell me in the comments, it seems to me like somebody is having buyer's remorse for having given the felon unfettered immunity. Uh, let's look at that. I guess that's the question. Does the Supreme Court have buyer's remorse? The card that I like to use for the Supreme Court is the birds. And that's because they're a group of people who meet together and argue back and forth, and then arrive at a decision. Well, birds is that kind of conversation meeting type card. So I tend to use the birds as the Supreme Court. So what are they thinking now as a body about having given him unconditional immunity? What are they feeling about that decision? In light of the fact that the people have made very clear that they're not fans of it. And look at that. So sometimes I always check the bottom of the deck. Statistically, the card that I'm looking for is not there, but then once in a while it pops up. Here it is. So because it's the bottom of the deck, that means it's the last card. So therefore, it will be the last card. And that means that I now will pull four cards ahead of it, four cards that immediately precede it. And that also means that the birds cannot be in the middle, but that what is in the middle will be of great interest to how we read the issue. So, okay. And I want to know how they feel about having given him this immunity. So we have the woman, fish, coffin, scales, and the birds. The birds are the last card. The coffin is the center card. Okay. I think that the women on the court, all of the women on the court, are talking to each other. I do, including the handmaid. Now, remember that the handmaid was the felon's pick, but I know that her company has been cultivated by the other women on the court, as women tend to do, right? They talk to each other. I think that the women on the court are really talking to each other, and that Amy could well side with the women. And I'm starting to think that Gorsuch and uh, Roberts could also side with the women, which leaves Alito and Thomas and Kavanaugh on the other side. And I don't know, maybe Kavanaugh would say, should we have given him unconditional immunity? I don't know. You know, the thing is, and, allegedly, and for entertainment purposes only, there is a lot of speculation that the justices, some of them anyway, have been um, compromised. Thomas and Alito being the main ones, but there could be others because this is the card for money and this is the card for justice. And why did they give him unfettered immunity like that? Like, what? Who does that? Like, why? Because they were instructed to do it, instructed with, finger waving in one hand and money in the other. So there's that. But I also think that the second meaning of this card does come into play. I think that there are justices who were co-opted. I think there are other justices who went along with that program, but have buyer's remorse, who feel this is a card for emotion, who feel some type of way about the perversion of justice, that a move like that, meaning giving him unfettered immunity, um, uh, was. It was a perversion of justice. I think they're going to end his presidential immunity. I do. Because Gorsuch's question was, well, wait a minute. According to you, lawyer for the felon, are there any strictures around that, any conditions around that, any circumstances where presidential immunity would not be a thing and he would be answerable for his actions? Now, I didn't hear the argument, right? So I don't know what the attorney said, but I'm gonna theorize, guess that the attorney said, yeah, nah, he could do whatever he wants because you told him he could. That's what I think that their position will be. That, immunity means immunity. What did Nixon say? Well, if the president does it, it's legal. That's what he said. And anyway, he ended up getting drummed out of office. Now we've got a Congress that is, tied to the felon, but maybe not for much longer. If you recall the reading that I did earlier in this session about whether his iron grip on the Congress would hold, I don't think it will. Nor do I think his iron grip on the court will hold. Leonard Leo and his desires notwithstanding, I think they're going to end presidential immunity. The other thing I want to look at is when, because they heard the argument. We're in November. They heard the argument. Their self-imposed deadline for this decision is July, just because July is always when they issue that, flurry of decisions right before they go on vacation. But I mean, meanwhile, rack and ruin is happening as he lays waste to the land, the felon, I mean. Could they move up that decision to say, I don't know, February? So I want to know, will this decision be handed down early? I'm going to do a spread you haven't seen me do very often here. Um, it's a yes/no spread. It takes 6 cards. So will the Supreme Court hand down a decision about presidential immunity sooner than July? I already told you what I think the decision is, that they will put all kinds of conditions around it, that it will not be a blanket immunity. But will they make that decision before July? Okay, so the way that I read this, and don't mind me, this is just how I have to do it. This is not a class. If you want to see how to use this particular spread, it's in my book and it's in my course. If you click the More button, you can see the links to my book, my deck, my class, um, or the websites that you can access those things or access um, connection with me to get a, personal reading if you want to purchase one of those. But at any rate, we have the sun in the house of the mountain, the fox in the house of the garden, and the mice in the house of the young man, with the sun mirroring the young man. I don't think that the decision will come as early as February. I do think that the decision will come before July. I do. Now, February, uh, yeah, we won't have had the midterms or anything like that. I think February is too early an ask. I think it'll be, but I do think it'll be before July. And when it comes down, I think they will have rethought presidential immunity and that his immunity will be curtailed. I mean, the coffin was the card. They could just say, "Yeah, nah, you don't have immunity. You don't have any immunity. Um, you have as much immunity as any other president has had historically." But then again, we have not had any other presidents who have flouted the law so frequently and egregiously. So, yeah, but I think he will have his wings clipped if he is still with us, because let that be the last thing I look at. Um, oh, I said I wanted to look at Usha. Yeah. So let's look at Usha, and then we'll look and see how the felon is feeling because inquiring minds want to know. Now, the Usha question. Listen, as I said before, everybody and their mother has read on this issue. I would like to take a more a narrower look at something around this. You know, we saw what we saw, whatever. Uh, I would like to know, and this is courtesy of Michael Wolff. If you're not following him on Substack or Instagram or whatever, you should. I think he's a really great writer. He talks very slowly, like a little too slowly for somebody like me who's a native New Yorker. Well, I'm from Chicago. It's where I was born, but I was raised in New York, so I talk kind of fast. And Michael Wolff talks really slowly, and there's a lot of pauses in between his words, but he writes beautifully. He's the guy who is suing Melania Trump because she threatened to sue him in an attempt to silence him. New York has laws against that. So now Michael Wolff is suing her. I see that he set up a GoFundMe because suing her it will be expensive. And I thought, well, he's a rich guy. Like nobody's going to support that GoFundMe. But the last time I checked this morning, he was asking the GoFundMe was for for $500,000. And when I looked this morning, he had already raised $410,000. So I think people are contributing because it's kind of like if you contribute to this war chest, it's kind of like you get to sue Melania too. So, if you want to go over there and support that GoFundMe, it exists. So, do you? Um, but he's writing a very good Substack. It's called The Howl, Howl, and it's really, really good. But anyway, he posited a theory that makes all the sense in the world to me about Usha Vance. Now, a lot of people are doing that thing that we did with Melania, like, girl, if you need help, send a signal and we'll come rescue you. And really, it's annoying because Melania knows who she's in bed with, so to speak. So does Usha. And Michael Wolff's theory is that the object of the game for JD is to get into the White House as the president, and that Usha is on board with that goal, and that anything that is necessary to make that happen, they're on board with, including what looked like what a an excerpt from a soap opera, and I'm referring to the hug and the hands in the hair and the hands on the hips and the. I think Usha, well, Michael Wolff thinks, and it makes sense to me, that Usha was on board with it. Give the crowd what they want. Bread and circuses, right? If they want to, gossip about who's sleeping with whom and whose marriage is on the rocks and, what are let's give them that red meat. Also, let's give the base the red meat of thinking that uh, JD will throw over his brown wife, Usha, because, she's brown and not Christian, and, uh, you know, walk the widow down the aisle. Let them think that. Uh, it's not going to happen, but let them think that. Now, as Michael Wolff reminds us, Usha is no dummy. She is Yale undergrad and law school trained. She clerked for, I think, Kavanaugh and Roberts on the Supreme Court. She comes from a Democratic family and started out as, a Democrat, but has cast her lot with the ever changing, ever morphing, chameleon like JD for her own reasons. Also, let me say this, and this is not a Michael Wolff thing. Uh, Usha believes, she doesn't see herself as a woman of color. She does not see herself as a woman of color any more than Clarence Thomas sees himself as a Black man. They are both suffering from what I'm going to call the bluest eye syndrome. If you have not read The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, I recommend that book. What both Usha and Clarence seem to believe is that proximity to whiteness confers on them honorary white status. I think that's what she thinks. Uh, I think that said, I think it must have been painful for her to realize that her husband's base hates her because they don't see her as white. They have not conferred that honorary status on her. So that's got to hurt. But I think she is clearer eyed about what the ultimate goal is than we're giving her credit for being. She's not stupid. So I would like to know, is Usha Vance complicit, as Michael Wolff well, not implies, states, in this great sort of um, tableau, this great sort of play uh, that is being staged for the base? Or does she feel like a woman scorned, publicly humiliated? Or is she on board with it? Did she say, JD, you're going to have to throw me to the wolves? And it's a strategic thing. You're going to have to do that to get to the place where, you want to be. We're not getting divorced. You love me, I love you. I am your uh, Lady Macbeth to your Macbeth. I am Lady Brutus to your Brutus in relation to the felon. Um, we're in this together. And if you have to stage a tableau to make it look like you're sacrificing me by saying, "Oh, I hope she becomes Christian," or you're sacrificing me by simulating whatever they were simulating on that stage with the hair and the hands, he and Erica, and the head and the hands in the hair and the hands on the hips, whatever that performance was all about. But she knew about it and is good with it because bread and circuses give the red meat, give the people the red meat that they want. Because our goal is to get into that White House. And my goal is to be your first lady. And, it's not like uh, there's going to be a divorce and a remarriage to Erica Kirk in the next, what, couple of years before the election. So, what does Usha know? What does Usha Vance know? Now, not for nothing, I'm going to use the older woman card for her because she looks bad. I don't think she's having fun with this. I don't think she's enjoying it, but I think she may well have agreed to it. Anyway, I'm going to use the older woman card for her because she just looks rough. Okay. Not that rough and old are synonymous, but you know what I mean. I'm not going to make her the younger woman. Okay, so we're looking for the older woman. That will be Usha Vance. Does she know what time it is? And is she complicit with JD's latest iteration as, you know, um, Erica Kirk's next husband? Okay, so this is Usha. Yep. Right. We have the moon. We have the young man. We have Usha Vance. We have the ring. And we have the anchor. Let me tell you what. She knows. She knows. She is in it. She is complicit. And her marriage is solid. And I think she's complicit. I agree with Michael Wolff. This is her husband, the ever changing J.D. Vance. Um, boys will be boys. If a beautiful blonde woman wants to run her fingers through your hair, of course you're going to put your hands on her hips in front of an international stage. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's all, again, bread and circuses. It's all for show. Her marriage, solid. Her marriage is solid. We do not need to send rescue ships out for Usha. Um, she doesn't need rescuing. Let's look. Okay, wait a minute. Hold on. Okay. So I pulled cards for her, and we have the rider, the mice, and the stork. So here's Usha. The message that she's trying to convey is, oh, poor me. I'm so anxious and I'm so worried. And is Erica going to steal my husband? But it's all for a greater good. It's all for a greater good. It's all for show. This is the marriage. Clarifiers are the letter, the clouds, and a scale. So this is the marriage. I think that there are terms in this marriage that we don't really know anything about, and that um, she will get what she considers to be fair. I think it's going to be something like you get to be First Lady of the United States. Maybe even in return, maybe you convert to Christianity, or maybe you, in return, allow yourself to be humiliated by Erica Kirk and your husband. But she believes that whatever she gets in the end out of it will be worthwhile to her. And I think it's about what Michael Wolff said, actually. He used this word, power. They both want power. Well, all three of them want power. Erica, JD, Usha, they all want power. The anchor. What keeps her there besides, again, this Lady Macbeth hunger for power, which I think she does have? Well, with power comes money, a golden future, and then we have this dog card at the end, which is the goodwill of JD. Look, they are partners, she and JD. She knows full well, chapter and verse, everything that's going on. She is not the woman scorned. That was the tableau that we were presented with. And people ran to it like it was a banquet. I mean, everybody is, oh, Usha. See, that's why I said I didn't want to look at this in a kind of a salacious way, really. We saw what we saw. I think it was for show. And I think Usha, I'm with Michael Wolff. I think Usha is in on the inside of this. I think it's a political, professional, personal calculation that she will play this role for him because the goal is to get them both to the White House and she will be rewarded. So that's what I think. Uh, One more, and I guess this is super long because I feel like I haven't seen you in a while, but let's just, well, do we want to do this today? No. You know what? The next time I come on, I will look to see how the felon is feeling. I thought the felon would be felled by the end of October. That didn't happen. It's also true that the universe does not move according to human time on the clock, time on the watch, time on the calendar. It just doesn't. And people have free will, and he has access to the best medical care in the world. I will say that last night, probably took years off of his life. Uh, but I'll do a deep dive on him in my next video because I think this one's long enough. But anyway, thank you so much for all your support of my work. I'm happy to be back with you, even though I'm on my little break. There will be a video with Lena Rodriguez from Tarot Down Under, and I'm going to put that one up. We haven't filmed it yet, but that'll go up on Friday. Yeah. So you'll see me before that, and I will do a deep dive on how the felon's feeling. All right, everybody, from my secret location, I am sending you love and support and raising an imaginary glass of champagne about last night. And, you know, things are looking up. All right, take care, everybody.